Welcome back. We turn now to Hungary, which is facing widespread backlash after passing what many describe as an anti-LGBTQ law. It bans the depiction of homosexuality to anyone under the age of 18. It's seen by critics as yet another assault on Hungary's LGBTQ community by right-wing Prime Minister Viktor Orban. The government claims that the law is actually intended to protect children from pedophilia, but it sparked outspoken condemnation from leaders across the European bloc.
This law puts homosexuality and gender reassignment on a par with pornography. This law uses the protection of children, to which we are all committed, as an excuse to severely discriminate against people because of their sexual orientation. This law is disgraceful.
And joining me now to discuss this is Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó. Mr. Foreign Minister, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. So let's begin with this law because it claims to be combating pedophilia and pornography. And I'm just curious, has there been a recent uptick in reported pedophilia crimes in the country?
Thank you very much, first of all, for giving me the chance to express our opinion as well. I've seen many opposition politicians already joining that global fake news campaign which has been going on against my country regarding this law. So this law definitely has two parts. One part is about protecting children from pedophilia. This part of the law basically modifies the penal code and puts very serious consequences to crimes committed against children on the field of pedophilia. It sets a very high limit for the length of imprisonment, and on the other hand, it establishes a database, a registration system, where we will register those who have committed such kind of crimes, and this database is going to be accessible for in cases when one takes a job where he or she gets in touch directly with children, and in case of being involved in this database, such jobs cannot be definitely occupied.
But to go back to my second point. But to go back to my question quickly, I'm just curious, has there been an increase in cases over the past few years? Because typically what leads to a law is a significant problem, and I'm just wondering if that's what you've seen within the country.
Well, unfortunately, there have always been such kind of crimes committed against children. I wouldn't say that we have extraordinary high numbers when it comes to European comparison, but even one crime committed against children on the field of pedophilia is too much. So
no doubt.
We wanted to attach the strictest possible consequences to such kind of crimes.
Right, and no doubt, and one crime is too many, I agree with you, but many are comparing it to a similar law that was passed in Russia in 2013 that connected it with gay propaganda, and I want to get to some of the amendments that are attached to this law which impact the LGBT community in Hungary. But in terms of the Russian law that many view in similar light, that it is targeting the LGBTQ community and tying it in with child pornography, there was a recent report that was put out by The Economist that showed some of the countries around the world, in particular Europe, where children are in fact the safest from child pornography and pedophilia. The United Kingdom tops the list. Russia is close to the bottom. So this law has been in place in Russia in terms of protecting children for now almost 8 years, and the results don't seem to be indicating what Russia says they were set out for. And I'm wondering if you are looking at this in the same light, because Russia doesn't seem to be a great role model in this perspective.
I'm not quite sure that you know that I'm representing the government of Hungary, right?
No, I am. I'm just saying that there are those who suggest that this law looks very strikingly similar to the law passed in Russia, specifically since there are amendments in which, let me just read this to you, that says school sexual education should not be aimed at changing gender or promoting homosexuality. It prohibits those under the age of 18 from promoting and displaying homosexuality and gender reassignment. It even prohibits broadcasters on TV from showing viewers under the age of 18 any images depicting sexuality for self-serving purposes. People are wondering whether Harry Potter can be shown on air before a certain hour. What does this have to do with child pornography?
Look, to be honest, I have no clue about the Russian law. And to be honest, I don't even care about that. I'm not representing that country and not representing that government. Now we have spent like 2 minutes with analyzing the Russian law in this regard, but I don't care.
They're very similar. I'm surprised that you don't know anything about it.
Russia or not.
Okay.
But I don't know anything about that. What I know about is the following. As being a member of parliament, we have passed this law into the two parts. The second part of the law modifies some of the already existing laws in Hungary, including the law on families, the law on protection of children, the law on media. And this law speaks very clearly that to conduct the education of the children under 18 regarding sexual orientation is the exclusive right of the parents. This is what this law says. This law doesn't say anything about adults. It doesn't say anything about sexual orientation of anybody above the age of 18. In Hungary, according to constitution, any kind of discrimination, including discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, is prohibited. This law only says that it is the parents who have the right to conduct the education of their children under the 18 regarding sexual orientation. And this law says that no pornographic content, no content on explicit sexuality, on promotion of changing gender, on promotion of homosexuality should be accessible to children. That's what it says. And I think it's the obligation, not only the right, but it's the obligation of the state to protect the children from such kind of contents. That's what the law says. And you know what? I'm pretty certain that that it's the job of the parents to conduct the education of their children regarding sexual orientation and not some NGOs.
But the law, as you know, does not exist in a vacuum. In 2013, your country banned same-sex marriage. Late last year, your government banned same-sex couples from adopting children. So you can see where some may draw a line and a connection between, this pedophilia law and the idea that Hungary is not a welcome place for LGBTQ members.
Okay, let me repeat. According to the Hungarian constitution, any kind of discrimination, including the discrimination on sexual orientation, is prohibited. No one has to be afraid in Hungary just because of his or her sexual orientation. No one can be discriminated on this basis. Yes, our constitution says that marriage can be made between man and woman, like many other constitutions of many other EU member states and many other countries all around the world. And yes, our constitution says that the father is a man and the mother is a woman. This is how our constitution is speaking about family, but this is national competence, and on this basis, no nation can be considered worse than any other nation on earth. And I have to tell you one more thing. It's fake news that pedophilia and homosexuality would be confused in our law. You will not find a sentence where these two phenomena would be confused. One part of the law speaks about very, very serious consequences of pedophilia, and the other part of the law speaks about the protection of the children regarding the education of their sexual orientation. Two totally different and isolated parts of the law. Nothing is being confused.
Were there certain child psychologists and experts that you approached or whose research you are citing leading to this law, in the sense that you are so concerned about the impact of seeing homosexual couples together or any content about homosexuality for those under 18?
Well, I'm pretty sure about the following, that me as a father, as a parent, know my own child much better than any NGO or any other institution. That's why it's much better for my children that I conduct their education regarding sexual orientation and not an NGO who does not know anything about my child, and I don't know who they are financed by and what's their aim and what's their goal. Now, the law does not prohibit, of course, education related to sexual culture or sexual orientation or sexual development addressed to minors, but such kind of education must be conducted by authorized and professional staff. What we would like to avoid is that LGBTIQ activists go to kindergarten or go to schools and try to promote any kind of behavior or orientation to our children. It must be only the parents. That's our very firm and very strict opinion in this regard, and I don't think that on this basis we should be considered as worse than any other countries or any other legislators.
There's a teacher whose quote I wanted to read to you, a teacher in Budapest who teaches English. And she said that she will not be adhering to this law. She says the law excludes young people at a developmentally very fragile time in their lives and says, quote, "This law questions the core of the individual's personality. You should support them. You should show them that they are acceptable and they are lovable the way they are and that this is what is being taken away." I know she's not the only teacher and educator in the country who feels that way.
Well, I don't agree with that opinion, to be honest. I respect that opinion, but I don't agree with that. And I hope that once you will quote the opinion of those teachers who deeply agree with this law, because by only quoting one side, well, puts forward a portraying of the situation as if there were only teachers who think that way. There are teachers thinking the other way around. But once again, I would like to tell you that education... Yeah, please?
I was just going to say that there is a poll conducted recently, in fact in May of 2021, that showed 56% of Hungarians say that same-sex couples should have the same rights to adopt children as heterosexual couples do. So in the sense of speaking for the people, the majority have spoken, and it seems to differ from what this law is putting in place.
I don't know this poll, to be honest, and I don't know on what basis it has been made.
It's an Ipsos poll that we use a lot here.
On what basis? I don't know about that. I know one thing is that our constitution speaks very clearly about this issue, and the constitution was adopted by the Hungarian parliament by a 2/3 majority. And I'm not sure whether you know that this law, which is now being under very heavy attack, has not only been voted in favor by the ruling party in the parliament. This has been voted in favor by the leading opposition party as well. The leading opposition party, which is part of the United Opposition. I've seen that you have made reports with representatives of the United Opposition here in Hungary who judged us and criticized us for this law. I regret that you have not asked them how it is possible that the leading opposition party, which is part of the United Opposition, has voted in favor of this law as well. So portraying this situation as if this was only the opinion of the ruling parties in Hungary is simply not true and not fair.
So a final question, and we'll have to leave it there, Mr. Foreign Minister. This law has nothing to do with upcoming elections next year?
The law has nothing to do with the next year election. That was the question, right? Because I didn't get it properly.
Yes.
If this was the question. No, it doesn't have anything to do. Sorry. No, it has nothing to do with next year's election. It has to be done with the protection of the Hungarian children, because once again the Hungarian children must be protected from any LGBTI activists and NGOs in the schools and in the kindergartens, and it must only be the parents who conduct the education regarding sexual orientation of the kids in Hungary.
Mr. Foreign Minister, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.